Good day, traders. Stacey Burke from Stacey Burke Trading. Daily FX levels for the British pound crosses. Today is Wednesday, April 15th. Tonight we have U.S. core retail sales, Canadian Bank of Canada monetary policy and rate statement, and the overnight rate. Later this evening we also will have a press conference with the Bank of Canada. So the pound Canadian may provide some opportunities for traders throughout today, building up into that. And let's take a look at our first pair. Just on that, I don't often trade the news itself, but I'll often look for opportunities prior to the news on that day, or if it was in my time frame in terms of usually by that time I'm in bed, but if it was in my time frame, I would look for opportunities after the announcement has been made. If you're already in the market, they will often use news as a stop hunt mechanism or a completion. You will often see the news complete a move, but in some of the more volatile announcements, non-farm payrolls, interest rates, the Bank of England, that sort of stuff, the Fed, they can often spike both sides of the market, and it's just always good to err on the side of safety and avoid trading the news. That's just how I feel about it. So first up, we have the pound Aussie. Yesterday, we saw that market trade off the lows, come up, consolidate, and now looks like we're heading back up towards this upper part of the 250 pip box, towards that 9,700 area. The market is had a breakout of the doji down low and reverse that. We could see this market do a measured move into the next 250 pip box if it clears that high of the day. The doji often acts as an area that when it's broken out of, we'll often see that market continue to move, and as we see, it has been a false break reversal in the last 8 hours. This market could end up doing a move right up into that upper 250 pip box as we have a nice sloping double bottom type pattern. Again, when we look at our 15-minute chart, that pair is already trended strongly off the low of the day through yesterday's high. As we head into the end of Asia, we have a nice micro trend line coming up along that. Markets moving quite strongly. We could see a measured move of this geometric range, but on the way we still may see a stop hunt. This is dragging traders higher. So if you are positioned long, be aware that they could often stop hunt back to and then continue that move. So this market may potentially be setting up to give us an opportunity if it was to consolidate at 50 or double zeros for a stop hunt back down. If this market continued to trend throughout the session, dragging traders higher and higher, we could see that market consolidate into the US session for a stop hunt back down low. Currently, though, this market is moving fairly strongly long. And as we saw in that 4-hour chart, we could be in a bigger breakout. So this trend could continue, and we could see a measured move, possibly, of this geometric breakout. If this market was to continue going long, this geometric breakout could take us up to 9,800 as a first target. Now again, traders have asked me about the measuring tool. I'm just using my Fibonacci tool with 100% expansions. I have no Fibonacci numbers in there whatsoever. These are just 100% expansions of the trading range. So currently, pound Aussie is headed up. Pound Canadian up next. Again, we saw that market break into the upper 250 pip box above 7,500 yesterday. When we look at this chart, we see that the 7,500 area could act as an area of support where that breakout occurred from the end of last week, just below the double zeros, and we could see that market continue to move further up, testing that upper boundary from 2 weeks ago above that 76.90 towards 77.50 area. Again, we may see that 7,500 act as an area of support. We see a nice breakthrough this morning at the end of yesterday's session, and then consolidating today, we could see that market continue to move up. When we look at the 15-minute chart, again, we see this market has not taken out yesterday's high. It's trading in an inside rectangle beneath that peak formation. We could see this market stop hunt low and then head north again if this market was to come up first and hit the stops of the high of the day and then hit the low down towards 7,500, we could see it do both. But if this market was to continue, we could see a double bottom reversal for that move back through yesterday's high. Next up, we have the pound Swiss. As we see, that market still continues to hug that rising trend line on the 4-hour chart. We had the breakout at the end of last week, consolidation, a retest, and then a breakthrough of the high of last week, consolidating in the last 12-16 hours. This pattern could be giving us a bit of a micro trend line break now and a retest of the lows from yesterday's London session. This market, if it was to roll over and break through, could retest this 2,000 level. We do have stops below this area. We'll have to see how it handles this level at the 2100 area. When we look at our 15-minute chart, we can see that the market is in a trading range currently as it creeps down towards the 2100 area. If it takes out today's low, we could find that 2100 acts as support for a move back towards yesterday's high. If it was to break down below 2100, we could see it pull back to retest the low of the day and potentially head towards yesterday's low. So again, this 2100 area will be important. The way the market is hitting the low, we could see a double tap or a breakout pullback and engulfment off 2100 for the move back to yesterday's high. When we look at the pound yen next, the pound yen has been consolidating around that 3,500 area. It's finding a bit of support from the breakout 2 weeks ago, just above that 34.50 area. This market's consolidating after a breakout. We could see how obviously it handles this upper boundary above 34.50. If it was to find support around that 34.75, 3,500 area, we could see that market continue to head through last week's highs. When we look at our 15-minute chart, we'll scrunch this up. We can see that this market has been trading in a large rectangle around 3,500, hitting the stops, pulling back, hitting the highs and lows, pulling back. Today's 15-minute chart, we see that this market has dropped down from last night's close, consolidated, hit the double zeros, and is heading towards stops at yesterday's 34.75 area as well as yesterday's low around that 34.50 area. So again, this lower boundary could act as support. How this market handles it into the close of Asia and the open of Europe, London, will give us the information we need. If it was to fall and break through, we could certainly see a stop hunt back to 3,500 for a move back down. If the market finds support in this area for a reversal, we could see some sort of double tap before heading back towards today's high. When we look at the pound New Zealand next, again, this market moving strongly. We had a 1, 2, 3 inside bar, and now we have probably a measured move. We see the reversal of the traders who shorted the inside bar are now caught in a possible measured move. When you see a 1, 2, 3 like that, that's a classic setup for a measured move. If it breaks the inside bar in the direction of the trend, we see this market could potentially end up around this 21,000 area if it was to continue to move up. We know that there's stops above last week's highs. 2 weeks ago. We'll just put a little up around this 1,000 area. When we look at our 15-minute chart, we can see our micro trend line is still intact. Breakout, consolidation, breakout again, break through the double zeros. Similar to the pound Aussie, this market has the potential now to do a measured move as it's broken out of a larger geometrical pattern from yesterday's high. Obviously, this 850 area may act as a potential resistance spot, but this upper boundary sort of around that 65-70 area may be a target for traders who are already in this market. Again, the double zeros currently seem to be a continuation of this trend, and until we see a micro trend line break and a retest of the high, this market is still in an upward direction. If you're caught in if you were to counter trend this and you're caught in this trade and it was to continue to trend strongly, you can see that these upper boundaries of these measurements take it even up past towards that 1000 area. So you don't want to be trading it in the wrong direction unless you have a solid consolidation, trendline break, retest, and a reversal pattern. And lastly, our British pound. Again, that pound broke out of that running wedge pattern and has continued to move up strongly. Just starting to roll over in the last 8 hours off of that 2600, upper 2600 boundary. We could see this market on our 15-minute chart. Again, just scrunch this up. We see that it has been respecting this rising trend line all the way. When we just now see that this market has broken through the double zeros, but we could see this 75 area, which was a breakout of yesterday's geometric pattern. So this 75 area may act as a potential breakout of breakout level, may act as a support level now for this market to continue. It has not taken out yesterday's high. We have a creeping trend. We could see this market stop hunt low, consolidate for the reversal back to yesterday's high. If this market was to break down and pull back and roll off the double zeros, we could see a trend line break down to that 2550 area. So hopefully you got some value out of today's video, traders. Just in closing, we see that the Goldman Sachs has said that there may be a potential downturn, which is 4 times worse than the current housing crisis. Just an article off of Forex Factory. And I think we're in for some significant volatility in the next month or so. It's a great time to keep focusing on getting better, sticking to your game plan, keeping things simple. And what seems too high and risky to the majority generally goes higher, and what seems too low and cheap generally goes lower. I know myself, I've often looked to call the bottom or call the top. And if you go back and study these charts on a bar by bar basis and look at the timings and everything else, the market will tell us when it's time to get in. Don't try to catch a falling knife. Don't try to pick the top or pick the bottom. Let the market tell you when to get in, and then fight for the best price. Put your stop in. Look for asymmetrical risk reward opportunities. Hold on to your winners. Stay disciplined. Keep it simple. Have a great trading day, and may the markets go with you.
Hi traders, it's Stacey Burke from Stacey Burke Trading. If you haven't done so, please head over to my website at staceyburketrading.com. I create updates on almost a daily basis, and I would love for you to receive them. Just click on the blog. If you want to enter your name and your email address, I'll send you my free audio program, the 7-Step Daily Routine for High-Performance Traders. This is essential knowledge for all traders in all markets, and this is for helping traders to master the market with discipline, confidence, and a winning mindset. I appreciate all your feedback and comments. As always, traders, stay disciplined, and may the markets go with you.